One.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Integrating Investor. I'm Seth Levine of the Integrating Investor. Thanks for coming. This is part 3 of our crypto and DeFi discussions. So please check out parts 1 and 2 if you have not seen those. I think it's been pretty interesting. Hopefully you all have as well. I'm pretty excited here. We've been doing some stuff that I think is interesting, but I actually just recorded an interview with Tony Greer of the Morning Navigator and TG Macro. I don't know if you guys know Tony or not. Super fascinating interview. We got into all sorts of topics, getting into how he thinks and trades, and I just found it completely fascinating. So we're going to play that next week. It won't be live, unfortunately. However, make sure you tune in and make sure you use that super chat function, because Tony has graciously agreed to actually answer super chat questions offline. So you send in those super chats. I'll get them over to Tony. Hopefully we'll have a recording session and we'll get those questions answered. So just because it's a recording, don't miss the live session, and don't miss your chance to to get in a super chat question for him, because he's awesome. I love Tony. And furthermore, I have another big name interview that I'm going to do in June, kind of the second week of June, I think. So keep a lookout for that. The Integrated Investor is just kind of moving along here, and we're going to get all sorts of interesting guests here, and kind of just continue to do what we're doing. So if you like what we're doing, please like and share this episode. Don't forget, really help get the word out. I'd love to get the subscribers up so we can attract even more interesting people onto the show. We can talk, keep the lights on for the guys at the Ayn Rand Center who get all of the benefit from the show. Don't forget, also follow me on Twitter, on Instagram. Stuff right up there, handles up there. Also subscribe to the website up there. Check out the website, subscribe to the email list, so you get all all my articles straight to your inbox. Right about once a month. Not going to spam you with anything else. Also, don't forget to use that chat function. I'm pretty bad at this, but I think I'm getting a little bit better, trying to get, I'm going to try and monitor that chat a little bit better and make sure, we answer your questions. And again, use that super chat function. It is going to benefit the Ayn Rand Center for everything. So moving right along. Speaking of super chat, I want to just thank, I realized I missed to thank some people last week. Still getting my sea legs here. So I want to thank Jonathan, MA as always, and Jeff for your contributions last week. Also, MA, I realized I missed a question. I missed a super chat question. What a rookie mistake. So I'm going to answer that right now. So your question, MA, if I have it correct, was, what is the difference between Jefferson and Hamilton when they were disagreeing about their central bank, and were they disagreeing about DeFi? So hopefully I have that right. And basically, in a small way, Jefferson and Hamilton were kind of disagreeing about DeFi, but it's really much, much bigger than that, right? So Jefferson, the difference of opinion they had was really a states' right versus federal government issue. Jefferson was on the state right side. He thought that all the regulatory process should come down on the state side, where Hamilton was in favor of there being federal oversight. So yes, we would be freer, or we actually were under the Jeffersonian kind of framework, but it's not. But that's not really DeFi, right? That's just that scratches the surface of DeFi, right? Right. The banks were still regulated at the state level, right? And they're still chartered at the state level. And free banking, at its core, is really about laissez-faire, right? It's about unregulated banking, right? Decentralized finance is about unregulated banking. Also, I thought I'd take a few minutes just to clear up some comments I get. It's really funny when whenever I talk about crypto, I have people who really just love to kind of categorize me in one of two buckets. Either there are people who think I'm just anti-crypto, right? Like, have fun staying poor, you don't get crypto, right? Which, whatever. And then I have people who actually are like, oh, dude, like I guess you like crypto then, right? And it's funny to hear that, because it's like, no, no, like I'm not pro and I'm not against. I had more nuanced views on crypto than just being like pro and against, right? And why am I doing that? I'm not just trying to be like different here or difficult, right? It's because I want to have a better handle on crypto so I can actually have a better investment thesis, right? So I can make the bets that I want to make in crypto and actually understand better what I'm doing with my money and understanding those bets that I'm making. So, I hope this series is demonstrating that. If not, there's a chat function right there, and feel free to use it, and hopefully I'll see it. And but like, going back to crypto, like I do see it as promising technology, right? And that like that's why I see it more as like a venture capital type of play, right? Because I see it as really, really bad money. Sorry, I think crypto is bad money, right? Just leave it at that. You have any questions? Super chat functions right there. Find me on one of the other mediums, and I'll be happy to get into that. But what really bothers me about the crypto debate and why I'm doing this, it's just there's a religious aspect to all the claims that really, really worry me. So I get that the Fed is printing money, right? I get all that stuff, right? I get why, the dollar is going to, zero and inflation and all this stuff. But I mean, why crypto, right? Why does it have to be Bitcoin, right? Why are we talking about crypto as a savior versus anything else? So, like, yeah, so let's just, I guess we'll just, let's just keep moving right along here. And I have my computer set up in a new way today. I thought it was going to help. And you know what? It's actually even more annoying than I thought it was. So we will just move right along. And of course, start off with the disclaimer. Again, personal opinions, not anything from my employer, not soliciting anything here. I am long Bitcoin, some Ethereum, and these are just my personal views. So we'll move right along. Let's see how that does. Okay, that's better. All right. So we'll start with the meme, right? Because that is crypto, right? So again, we got DeFi, crypto, and DeFi, right? Right. DeFi is the goal. Like, to me, DeFi is a very admirable goal. This is what we should be striving for. But crypto cannot bring forth DeFi, in my view, because DeFi, right, decentralized finance, it is a political goal. It is not a matter of technology, right? It requires the removal of political power from economics. We need to remove politics from financial markets, right? So DeFi requires economic freedom. And I think I can stop sharing here. So this is a silly setup. Oh, no, I wanted to keep sharing. So this is why, if I can go back here, let's stick with the memes, right? This is why deregulation comes into play, right? Like, I think that DeFi requires a deregulated financial system. That is how you get the decentralization required. There we go. So where did we leave off? So we left off, well, before we even leave off, Jeff, thanks a lot for your super chat contribution. Not going to forget you this time. I don't remember if I forgot you or not last time, but definitely not going to forget you this time. So back to where we left off. We were talking about free banking throughout history, right? And we saw it was tried in a variety of places, throughout the late 1700s, early 1800s. And we touched upon its track record. It really wasn't too bad. Now, banking was still in its infancy, right? The fractional reserve banking that we think of today was still in its infancy. So we're still trying to work out the kinks, but it really wasn't too bad. But we don't have it today. So why did it end? Well, it ended because of politics. It ended because of political power. It ended because of cronyism when it comes down to it, right? We wanted favored banks to support government goals, right? It wasn't necessarily because of system failure, right? However, today markets still remain free enough such that regulations didn't fully centralize banking, right? So we don't have free banking today, but we don't have centralized banking either, right? Because if we had centralized banking, they would be completely controlled by central banks and regulators, right? But no, really, we still have fairly robust financial system, not free, but a lot of it has moved into the shadows, right? Hence, we get the shadow banking system, right? A very aptly named. So what is the shadow banking system, right? I mean, I've said it before, I've talked about it. You've probably heard it. It sounds big and scary. Oh, the shadow banking system. Oh, working in the shadows, just waiting just to eat all your money or crush you or something negative, right? Other people call it the Eurodollar financial system for a technical reason. I mean, it's all the same thing, right? What are we really talking about here? Well, it's really the financial plumbing. And that's another buzzword I'm going to throw, right? The financial plumbing, right? I mean, when you think about the finance industry, it's massive, right? And we all talk about paper pushers in the industry, right? Oh, I'm just in finance, just pushing papers along, not really doing anything. But no, like that whole giant industry is the shadow banking system. That actually is the workaround to the regulatory barriers that are inhibiting efficiency. So that shadow banking system is there, and all that sort of seemingly inefficient costs and industry is really there to try and improve the efficiency, right? So it operates in the shadow banking system. It is literally kind of moving money around, right? But it's not doing so needlessly, right? It's serving a purpose, right? And it's operating in all these sort of offshore jurisdictions. They're in, the Cayman Islands and in Jersey, and in, Switzerland and here and there and Delaware and all these other places, because of the favorable jurisdiction and regulatory reasons, and to actually make it more efficient, believe it or not. And this is why finance companies are so complex, right? It is because of the shadow banking system, right? And it's an attempt at DeFi, right? Because again, central banks and regulations centralize, right? And so shadow banks are really a market solution for that centralization. They're working around those barriers, right? So it is very much a DeFi. So it has been successful, but for sure, it is not without problems. So MA, gotcha. Separation of state and economics. Bingo, you nailed it right on the head, right? DeFi is really about centralization of state and economics, and specifically, right, this is specific to finance, whereas the true, as opposed to capitalism, which would be sort of the broader concept there. So is shadow banking DeFi, right? Well, not fully, right? But because it's still not, we don't have free banking, right? Even in free banking, we didn't have free banking. But DeFi isn't really discrete, right? This is an issue too, right? We're not talking about freedom and statism right here. It is on a spectrum, right? We could have complete control banking and completely free laissez-faire banking. We have neither, right? And we've had neither throughout history. Rather, it's been on a spectrum between freedom and state, and sort of complete state control, right? So DeFi is more free than pure central banking or pure state-run banking, right? Again, even free banking was mostly DeFi, but not full DeFi, right? And by free banking, I'm again talking about the period of the antebellum U.S. and Scotland, right? That's sort of pre-Civil War, early 1800s kind of banking regime, right? And that's because DeFi is not a matter of economic freedom. I'm sorry, it's because DeFi is a matter of economic freedom, right? It's not a matter of technology, right? DeFi really is the freedom to act. It's not a statistic about how many people own what, right? So a lot of people say, oh, we never had crypto we never truly had DeFi because we never had crypto before. And they're thinking very narrowly in terms of, okay, like in that decentralized finance world of crypto, maybe you can have more decentralized ownership, as if, shareholders, public ownership wasn't decentralized, but that's a separate issue, right? They're like, oh, crypto enables kind of like a more decentralized ownership structure. Well, No, this is a source of confusion, right? Because we're talking about an industry, right? So long as you can have multiple companies operating free to come and go to solve problems, right? That solves the DeFi, right? That is what makes it DeFi, right? It's because there's not one overarching solution set being crammed down everyone's throat by the use of force, right? So shadow banking isn't perfectly DeFi, right? But neither was free banking, as we said, right? But both are certainly better than the alternative of 100% state-controlled banking, in my view. Which again, haven't really had, except in like real totalitarian regimes. So don't misquote me here. It's about the spectrum. So if shadow banking is DeFi, then like why did it fail, right? Like why isn't it perfect? Why is it failure, right? It is more DeFi than not, right? And I would argue that the great financial crisis like actually was a failure of the shadow banking system, right? Of the shadow banks. It was not a housing crisis, as is popularly kind of, the popular narrative, right? Everyone thinks, oh, it was a housing crisis. Well, no, the housing crisis, it was a shadow banking crisis. What happened was the banks, it literally was a great financial crisis. And it's the shadow banking system failed because it was built with housing backed assets. And maybe we'll get into that or not, right? So the great financial crisis really failed around these risk concentrations that were created by the regulators, right? And this is just like the wildcat banking errors that we talked about in part 2, right? In last episode, where we had unitary banking, right? Unit banks that couldn't branch. So when you had droughts per se, or tough growing conditions in agrarian economies, well, everyone failed at the same time, right? All the risk concentration was to the weather and growing conditions. And when that went poorly, well, the banks went belly up. Well, this is very similar in the great financial crisis, right? Because again, banking is about capital efficiency, right? Banking is about capital efficiency. That's how banks make their money. And banking is highly regulated. So we fast forward to today, right? The banks are doing their best with the shadow banking system, for sure. However, there's only so much that they could really do, right? There's only so much wiggle room that they have. And they're kind of all cheating along the same kind of loopholes, right? So let's look at the great financial crisis, why did housing crash the shadow banking system? Well, big part of that was because of the regulations, right? And specifically with rating agencies, right? The rating agencies are I'm talking about US now, they are legally mandated agencies, right? I forget what it stands for, but it's in the article if you want to check that out. But they are legal, they have a government license, and there's basically only 2 or 3 of them. I mean, really only 2 that matter, Moody's and S&P, and Fitch is kind of hanging around there as well. But there's only 3, right? So you only have 3 opinions that sort of matter, right? And it's not like anyone could be a rating agency. Like, there's a licensing process, and there are more now, but that's a separate issue. Well, the great financial crisis, all these banks are trying to improve their capital efficiency. They have all these offshore entities. They're doing all these structured product things, all to increase their capital efficiency. What happened was that capital efficiency was based upon how the rating agencies rated bonds. Well, they all rated housing-backed assets as AAA because you know what? Housing prices never go down, right? So the banks are doing all this stuff based on housing. Well, when the rating agencies got that wrong, because of the leverage in banking, in the shadow banking system, and because all these different layers have to go there, so the leverage gets magnified and magnified as all these organizations within the banking's corporate structure increases. Well, you get housing wrong, and guess what? You literally toppled the entire financial system. I mean, it's pretty wild. I mean, again, yes, banking is tremendously creative when unregulated. Absolutely, right? That goes for everything. So thank you for bringing that up. All right, so this is going to be a long episode this week, so strap in, I guess. So where were we? So we're talking about shadow banking is a DeFi workaround, right? That's what we need to. That's what I'm. This is my argument here, right? Shadow banking is a DeFi workaround, right? And it's a workaround, right? It wouldn't need to exist in a lightly regulated regime. Why? Because it's really costly. Again, you're paying tons of people, investors and traders and bankers and lawyers and lobbyists, just tons of money. And you're creating shell companies, and you're operating in the Cayman Islands, and you're operating in the US and Delaware and Switzerland and here and there, all over the world. You're doing all these operations purely to get around regulations. And that is very, very, very costly, right? But not only is it costly, it makes the companies opaque. And not just opaque to the outsiders, but to the insiders too, right? It's very hard to manage a company that is so opaque and so complex, right? So it adds operational risks, right? So I acknowledge that the shadow banks are helping, but they definitely have problems, right? I mean, they're very hard to manage, right? So if we want to keep their benefits and get rid of the costs associated, well, how do we do that? Well, there's only one way, and that way is to deregulate, right? Why is that the only way? Well, if you deregulate finance, right, then all of a sudden you remove all the utility of that shadow banking system. If you remove the utility, what are you left with? The costs. Well, all that cost is then completely needless, right? So why would you keep all that around? No, you deregulate and you get all the DeFi benefits, and you get all the costs and risks that come with having such a clunky shadow banking system around. All right, back to super chat. I don't want to miss these, so maybe I'm going to break up the flow a little bit. So, MA, you asked again, weren't banks forced to make bad loans? Yes, they were forced to make bad loans. Well, they weren't forced to make bad loans. That's a bad way of putting it. They were incentivized to make bad loans by things like the Community Reinvestment Act, Fannie Mae, Ginnie Mae. So yes, that was part of it too. But really, why the banks wanted so much of this housing risk was because it could be rated AAA. Then they could take these AAA paper, right? So they'd make the loans, and then they'd have them as an asset. And what they would do is they would use that as capital to leverage more lending on top of, right? So banks, they basically, I don't know if I talked about this or not, but banks are carry trade, right? If we think about it, basically they basically take capital, they take money, and they loan even more money on top of that. And they try and manage kind of the liquidity of it all. So I hope that answers. If not, I'll come back to it. So moving along. Why crypto is not DeFi, right? So this is, I mentioned this earlier, that crypto is not DeFi, right? Even though people want to say it is, right? Well, crypto to me is really just an evolution of this cat and mouse game between productive financier and regulator. I mean, really, what is the difference between the shadow banks and crypto? I mean, both literally exist to evade regulations and to focus on, to evade the regulations and really just focus on providing a pure economic utility. Right? That's what the banks are doing. They're trying to be more efficient. And just think, what is the purpose for crypto and DeFi, right? Like what are the stated DeFi goals of crypto, right? Well, first, it's to get rid of those banksters, right? And by banksters, that's a pejorative term where you take banker and gangster, right? And that really is an identification of the cronyism that's in banking today. Again, real or perceived. It's definitely a mixture of both, in my view. But right, they want to eliminate that bankster political power that exists in banking, right? That cronyism, right? That is just politics getting into economics, right? So we want to, in my view, eliminate that political power that's there. Another thing that DeFi is trying to do, right? Think about Bitcoin, right? If you read the original Bitcoin white paper, Satoshi Nakamoto talks about it, right? He's the mythical founder, right? He talks about it as being an electronic payment system, right? Why an electronic payment system when we have things like Western Union and money wires and all these things? Well, because transferring money is extremely expensive and clunky and inefficient. And it is because of all that banking regulation, right? So even the original conception of crypto was to get around regulations, right? So there's really no difference between crypto and the offshore banking system, right? They're really just trying to make finance more efficient. So crypto can be a real powerful tool, especially in this, because it does seem like, I'm not a technologist, but it does seem like pretty interesting technology, but it can't bring forth DeFi on its own. And why can't crypto bring forth DeFi, right? Well, push comes to shove, crypto can't bring forth DeFi because this is ultimately about people. This is a people story. And unfortunately, people, we are regulatable, right? We don't have decentralized existences. I'm one person. Here I am, right? I'm right here, right? We live centralized existences with homes, families, bank accounts, right? All these things can fall subject to, political pressures, right? We're all within a specific jurisdiction of political control, right? Also, even Bitcoin, right? Like Bitcoin is not infallible, right? Bitcoin, what if you had a government sponsored 51% attack on Bitcoin, right? It's certainly possible. Now, if you don't know what a 51% attack is, it's just basically a way to get voting power over crypto, right? It's a way to sort of corner the market in crypto, right? Like maybe a government has the resources to do that, right? So again, it is regulatable because it can take the human element of it. So the human element, it can attack the human element of it. So while crypto can definitely exist on the fringe, I just don't think it can go mainstream without a favorable political environment. And the perfect analogy for this to me is cannabis, right? So it's becoming more legal here now, but think about specifically in the U.S. Where I am, but go back a couple of years, right? Cannabis was everywhere, right? Even though it was illegal, like I'd walk down the street and smell it, right? Even though it was illegal, right? It can't really be controlled by governments, but still is like even though it's big, it's still kind of a small kind of black market fringe product. Well, now it's becoming legal, right? And it's going to get significantly bigger of an industry when it's legal. Why? Well, because you can get capital investment behind it, right? You can get banking behind it. And we're just seeing this now, how that industry is going to just, grow tremendously bigger now than what it was when it existed, on the fringes. And I think the same holds for crypto. So we simply need DeFi first in order for crypto to thrive, right? Because crypto, it can't address the centralization aspect of it, right? Which is because that is a political power issue, right? The problem is system design. It's not technology. So DeFi is just simply more meta than crypto, right? It requires a philosophical change. We need free finance, essentially, right? We need to, laissez-faire in finance, laissez-faire for basically everything in my view, but, this is a political issue. It's really not about, can we build a better widget? So crypto is like a seed, right? If it's just any seed you have, no matter how great the prospect is for that seed, right? How great the parents were, your first prize pumpkin, right? Its offspring, right? It needs proper growing conditions, right? In order to thrive, really, right? The best seeds aren't going to thrive in poor soil, right? They would just shrivel up and die, right? So the same goes for crypto, right? We need to fix the soil, and then only then can we watch crypto thrive, right? And by soil, again, it's the economic environment, right? So I'm going to kind of sum it all up because we're going late, and we're going to go late because I don't want to talk about Bitcoin anymore. So I think I like the way how I put it. Of course, recap if needed. Well, let's do it, right? The financial system has, right, this, let's just tie it all together, right? Right. We know the financial system has problems, right? There's just too much, it has too much influence over our lives, right? Like, why is too big to fail even a thing, right? Well, it's because centralization is the cause, right? This is caused by regulations and not really by, it's not a matter of technology, it's the political environment, right? So DeFi is the solution. But crypto can help, of course, right? Because it can kind of eat in that cat and mouse game, but it can't address the root cause, which is economic freedom. And specifically here, we're talking about freedom in finance, right? And let's not forget, DeFi is on a spectrum, right? It's not a discrete free or not free. It's not DeFi or centralization. It's a spectrum of freedom, right? A spectrum of DeFi. And it's still working for us, thankfully, via the shadow banks. So while crypto may be part of a DeFi future, you know, it's promising tech, these supporters just have it completely backwards, right? It's DeFi that allows crypto to thrive and unlock its full potential, not the other way around. DeFi is the prerequisite, right? Because this is a matter of political philosophy. So just to really drive it home, right? We're back to our opening meme here. Love this meme, right? Crypto not bringing DeFi. House is on fire. Well, you know what? It's DeFi that fixes this. Love that. I made that this morning. So let's wrap it up here, right? You know, we could wrap up part 3. We'll wrap up kind of the crypto discussion overall. I'm kind of sick of talking about it. I mean, it's a fascinating topic to me just because there's so much unpacking in there that, I don't know, that I like to get my hands, dirty with, right? But yeah, so we're going to end crypto. And I'm really excited because next week I have a pre-recorded interview with Tony Greer, right? Tony Greer, right? Of TG Macro. Definitely tune in. It was an awesome interview. We really got to see and hear how he thinks about investing. He's a great trader, great guy overall. And I know it's recorded, but don't forget to tune in, right? Because again, you use that super chat function. I'm going to take those questions over to Tony and hopefully we'll get, he'll answer our questions. So definitely check that out. And then the following week, we will finally be moving on to a new topic. It'll probably be inflation because I'm working on an article right now for that to come out. And that is just, again, another topic that is fully pregnant to unpack from a from a philosophical perspective, because there is so much weird thinking involved there, at least in my view. So I went a little bit longer than usual today. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this series on crypto and DeFi. Let me know in the comment section. Love to hear what everyone thinks. Again, subscribe. Subscribe to my email up there. Follow me. Wherever. Hit that like button. Right. We just did a big thing on crypto. You may think, that was awesome, and then you want to sign off. No, don't sign off. Hit that like button. If you don't like it, thumbs down it. Again, I'm a big guy. I could take it. And go back to the chat. Yeah, I think I got you all in the super chat. So pretty proud of myself there. We are improving. So I got you, MA. Thank you so much again. Jeff, thanks again. Everyone, it's a gorgeous day here in New York. I'm excited to step outside and kind of get some sunlight. I hope it's sunny where you are too. And with that, have a great weekend, everyone. Take care.